Chapter 1. Hunter Sloane turned into a parking lot, following the instructions of his car's GPS. The sign hanging above the front door read, "Band B's Band B." Who on earth would name a Band B that? He shrugged and got out of his car, snagging his suitcase and hanging his laptop bag on top of it. When he got inside, he heard a chime and stood there for a moment looking around. The house was charming and had obviously been renovated recently. He was in an entryway, and it was only a moment before a woman came out of the kitchen, wiping her hands on an apron. "You must be Hunter Sloane." "I'm Bree Black." He nodded to her. "How did you know I'm Hunter Sloane?" He had a few books out, and they'd all hit the NYT bestsellers list, but his face wasn't really noticed wherever he went. Thankfully, few authors were recognized by strangers. No one really studied an author's picture on the dust jackets of books. "You're the only person we're expecting today. The other rooms are guests that are staying over still." "I see. You paid over the phone with your credit card, so let me just show you to your room. You requested to be as far away from the noise of the Band B as possible, so we put you on the second floor, last door on the right." She pulled a key from her pocket. "Room's all ready for you. Do you want me to take your things up? Or would you prefer to find it on your own?" Hunter smiled. "You read people well, don't you, Miss Black?" She held up a hand with a wedding ring. "Mrs. Black, but please, call me Bree. We're not formal around here. I'll find my own way up. I haven't had lunch yet. Is there a place nearby?" "Lots of places if you want to go further into town. I could make you a box lunch, or you could go to the hotel, which is straight across the parking lot. They have a restaurant there. We only serve breakfast here, but for a little extra, we'll do box lunches, although usually those are just for the adventurers." "Adventurers?" "Our town is known for its outdoor adventures. We have skiers, hikers, snowmobilers, four-wheelers, just about any outdoor mountain sport can be done here. If you're into extreme sports, my cousin has a business taking people rock climbing and doing whatever other adventures you find yourself needing." She walked to a table and picked up a piece of paper from a stack. "Here's their flyer. Rocky Mountain Adventures is the name of the business. I'm really just here to lock myself away and finish the book I'm working on. I was having trouble focusing in Denver, and I was looking for places I could drive to that would be quieter." Hunter shrugged. "Hopefully I won't leave the room much, except for meals." "Well, don't totally lock yourself away. You might enjoy writing in our gazebo. You can enjoy the mountain air, and there's even a place to plug your laptop in." Bree shook her head with a smile. "Let me know if you decide to take me up on one of the boxed lunches. I'll let you get to your room and settle in. I'll be in the kitchen if you need anything at all." Hunter watched her go before heading toward the stairs. He thought he'd probably take her up on the boxed lunch, at least for today. The reviews he'd seen on this place were all talking about the incredible breakfasts provided, and even said the boxed lunches were fabulous. Maybe when he got sick of the four walls of his room, he'd head out to the gazebo and work there. The idea of spending time in the mountain air was nice. There was mountain air in Denver too, of course, but it was smoggy. He wanted fresh. He was a bit startled when he first walked into his room. Someone had painted the room the ugliest shade of green he'd ever seen. It only took him a moment to understand, though. Everything in the room was themed for the musical Wicked. It was a favorite of his, so he couldn't complain that the walls were the exact color of Elphaba's skin. He had booked the room for 3 weeks, and he planned to completely finish his book in that length of time. He was already 3/4 of the way through, and any writer worth his salt should be able to write 30,000 words in 3 weeks if he really buckled down. Hunter unpacked his suitcase and put his clothes away. The Band B even had laundry services for a small fee, so he would have them deal with everything. All he'd have to do was write. How hard could it be? Once he had everything set up exactly like he wanted it, he wandered downstairs to the kitchen. I think I want to take you up on that boxed lunch. Bree nodded at him, handing him a menu of sorts. It was really just a list of sandwiches, chips, and baked goods she would put into his lunch. I'll do chicken salad, Doritos, and a cream cheese brownie. And a bottle of water to drink. No problem. I'll have it ready in an hour. Would you like to come down for it, or should I bring it up to you? I'll come back. I want to go see the gazebo you mentioned. I love the idea of working outside if it's a convenient place. He walked toward the door. Will you put the lunch on my bill? Yes, we'll start an account with incidentals. We also have toothpaste and razors if you realize you forgot to bring something. Bree was already living up to the reviews he'd read. Which way is the gazebo? Just go out the door you came in and walk around the house to the right. If you look straight ahead from there, you'll see it. There's a little pond beside it. To his surprise, she didn't end the directions the way most people did. He hated when people said, "You can't miss it," because it almost always ensured he would. Thanks again. I'll be back. His phone was in his pocket, but he was determined not to use it while he was here. The whole purpose behind coming was to be unplugged so he could get some work done. He walked around the house and saw the gazebo in front of him. It was perched just on the edge of a hill, and it was beautiful. Was that a swing? He hurried toward it, stopping as he reached out and touched the swing that was hanging from a couple of chains which were attached to the roof of the structure. He sat down and made it swing with his foot, a smile touching his lips. A little in front of him were some chairs and a table. He knew they were meant for picnics, but he could visualize himself sitting there, writing his heart out. It was the first place he'd been able to see himself writing in weeks, which was why this book wasn't done. He'd never experienced writer's block before, but it was alive and well in him now. He would have to do something, or he would lose his mind, and his contract with his publisher. He'd only been sitting there for a few minutes, seemingly staring off into space, but his mind was working. It was piecing together the next scene, and the one after that. Finally, the voices in his head were talking to him again. He pulled out his phone, not to talk to anyone, but instead he tapped the app for his dictation software and got down to business. He preferred to have his hands on the keyboard when he wrote, but desperate times and all that. If his mind cared about the book, he'd get it into words. He wasn't waiting another minute. Asterisk. Bekah Roberts walked toward the pond, where she'd been told there was a dead fish floating, by one of the guests. As the official landscaper and groundswoman for Band B's Band B, it was her job to deal with it. She wore a pair of old jeans and a t-shirt that had seen better days, thankful that she and Bree had decided that being able to wear jeans to work was important to them, so she never had to wear anything stupid-looking. She got to the pond and muttered to herself. Ah. Not Maynard. He's my favorite. I'm so sorry, Maynard. I don't know exactly what I did wrong, but I know I'm going to take care of it. She took her net and scooped poor Maynard out of the pond, dumping him into a trash bag she'd brought along for that purpose. I'll find you another friend, she told the remaining fish. Do you mind? An annoyed male voice asked from a short distance away. She hadn't noticed a man there, but she shouldn't have been surprised. Guests used the gazebo all the time. Sorry, I didn't realize anyone was there, Bekah called. She put the bag with Maynard down and dropped her net, walking over to introduce herself. I'm Bekah Roberts. My cousin and I run the Band B. Band B's Band B. It makes sense now. I'm Hunter Sloane. Oh, of course. I saw your name on Bree's list of who was checking in today. Even when there was only one guest checking in, like today, Bree printed out a list of everyone who would be arriving for Bekah. I'm glad you found the gazebo. It's peaceful here, isn't it? It was until you came along and started talking to Maynard. Hunter frowned at her. I'm trying to work. Bekah frowned right back at him. I didn't mean to disturb you. I'll get back to my own job. She walked off, picked up her things, and went straight back to the house. The man was insufferable and rude. She'd have told him so too, if it hadn't been his first day there. She didn't want to scare him off and have Bree get mad at her. Her cousin kept reminding her that she had to be polite to the guests. It wasn't that Bekah wasn't usually polite, it was simply that she always spoke her mind. Sometimes she said things in ways that others considered harsh, but she never really meant them that way. She just didn't mince words. It was a blessing and a curse all at once. She carefully disposed of the fish before going into the house and straight to the kitchen. That Hunter guy is rude, she said by way of greeting. Bree turned to her. He was really polite to me. He got mad at me for talking to Maynard. Oh, that big fish in the pond? Why were you talking to him? Bree pulled a small batch of brownies from the oven. One of the guests told me there was a fish belly up, and it was Maynard. Bekah sighed. He was my favorite. The trout in the pond are not your pets, Bekah. Bree shook her head at her cousin. I guess not. Why was he cranky? Bekah couldn't deny that the man on the swing had intrigued her. Few men dismissed her quite the way he had. She wasn't drop-dead gorgeous, but she was pretty, and combined with her fun-loving personality, she was used to men lining up to take her out. Not getting angry with her as soon as they met her. Hunter? He came here to work, and I think he was hoping the gazebo would inspire him somehow. He said he's a writer. Bekah frowned. Hunter Sloane, I think I may have heard of him. She sighed. I guess I owe him an apology the next time I see him. Well, I'll give him one, but really he owes me one. Bree grinned. Whatever you can do to keep the peace. She cut a brownie and gave it to Bekah on a plate. I almost forgot. Mrs. Olson called today. She wants you to come over and have a meeting with her at your earliest convenience. Bekah groaned. She liked Mrs. Olson because she was a dear sweet woman. Her daughter, however, that was another story entirely. This afternoon, I guess. The Olsons owned the hotel next door, and they gave the Bandby guests a huge discount on using the hot springs there. The Bandby hadn't been open for long enough for them to risk offending the people who made the discount possible. Any idea why? She took a huge bite of the brownie and sighed contentedly. No one can make brownies quite like you can. She didn't say. Just that it was important. Why me and not you? Bree was usually the one to go to the business meetings, because she was the one with a mind for details. Bekah was more of a tomboy than her cousin, preferring to do any outdoor tasks instead of playing happy homemaker cooking and cleaning for the Bandby guests. They shared the cleaning, but that's all Bekah really did inside. Bree shrugged. She didn't say. Bekah wrinkled her nose. If one of them had to deal with the Olson's daughter, Jennifer, it should be her. Jennifer was known for making Bree's life utterly miserable. Well, until recently, of course. I'll go after I finish my brownie. Better to get it over with. 10 minutes later, she was on her way to the hotel. She was dreading going, so she'd go quickly and get it over with. She was all about ripping the Band-Aid off and drinking all her medicine in one gulp. When she got to the hotel, she walked to the front desk. Mrs. Olson asked to see me. The girl behind the desk smiled at her brightly. She's in her office. You know the way, right? Bekah nodded, raising a hand in a wave. The girl had been a couple years ahead of her at Silver Springs High, but in a town the size of Silver Springs, everyone knew everyone else. It was hard to avoid seeing someone, even if you wanted to. She knocked on the closed door to Mrs. Olson's office, and waited until she was told to enter. I heard you wanted to see me. Mrs. Olson nodded. I have a huge favor to ask. Will you hear me out before you automatically say no? Bekah frowned, nodding. Whatever it wasn't going to be pleasant. Yeah, I'll listen. You know that we told Jennifer she had to get a job after the way she tried to interfere in both your cousins' relationships. Well, she tried. We called around town and tried to get her hired, but no one would have her. She has a bit of a reputation for being difficult. Bekah laughed at the understatement. That she does. Mrs. Olson grinned. Well, anyway, we gave her a job in our own housekeeping department here at the hotel, but it's really not working out. All of the maids, and the head of housekeeping, are threatening to quit if we don't fire her. She refuses to clean toilets, instead telling the others that since her parents own the hotel, she can stay in the break room reading magazines. Claims it's her lot in life to be in charge while everyone else labors away. Bekah nodded. Sounds like Jennifer. After much discussion with her father, we've come to the conclusion we want you to teach her to be a good maid. She can't pull rank on you, because you don't work for us. Bekah groaned. But then I'll want to quit, and I own the place. Mrs. Olson smiled, shaking her head. If you'll train her for a week, we'll make it worth your while. Bekah raised an eyebrow. You will? Mrs. Olson named a figure that had Bekah frowning as she thought about it. That much money would go a long way toward paying off the bank loan they'd taken for the last of the renovations on the Band B. That's for 1 week. It shouldn't take longer than that to train even Jennifer, but if it does, you just let me know. That much per week until she's ready to work here. And if I can't get her ready to work here? Bekah had to ask. There was a good chance Jennifer would never be willing to clean toilets or change sheets. It just wasn't in her. Then I'll be in the fun position of firing my own daughter. Bekah sighed. She wouldn't wish that position on her worst enemy, and despite the demon spawn the woman had given birth to, she liked Mrs. Olson. I'll do it. You will? Oh, thank you, Bekah. You won't regret it. If she's rude to Bree or a guest, I won't be responsible for what I say to her. Just a fair warning. She might need a bit of Robert's honesty. Mrs. Olson stood. I'll send a check to you tonight, and my delicate flower over in the morning. And just so you know, she's not allergic to anything. If she claims to be allergic to cleaning products, you have my permission to tell her she's a liar. She tried that, huh? I really don't think there's anything she hasn't tried. Bekah sighed. This is going to be fun, isn't it? That's not the word I'd use. With a wave, Bekah left the hotel, knowing she was making the right decision for her business, but she hoped it was the right decision for her cousin. For some reason, Jennifer had always seen Bree as her favorite target. She walked along the wooden sidewalk Bree's new husband Anthony had built, her mind on how she was going to train Jennifer. She wasn't paying any attention to where she was going at all, and she ran straight into a wall. Ouch! The wall had hands that reached out to catch her. I was just looking for you. Bekah looked up, realizing the man in front of her was Hunter. He was much bigger than he'd looked in the gazebo. You were? I hope you're not still angry that I interrupted your work earlier. If you are, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. He rubbed the back of his neck, looking embarrassed. I actually was trying to find you to apologize and explain. I've had writer's block for a few months now, and I was sitting in that gazebo, and suddenly all I could think about was what needed to happen next in my story. So I started dictating it into my phone, and your words were picked up by my dictation software. I was frustrated. I had no idea you were working. I'm very sorry. Did you think I was just sitting there having a nice chat with myself? Bekah shrugged. Honestly, I was thinking about my work, and I didn't even notice anyone was there until you spoke to me. As much as she hated to admit she lived in her own world, she often did. She could be in a crowded room, and unless she felt like being around people, she could tune them all out. Wow. I wish I had that kind of focus. I need to be able to tune out everyone and everything around me. I hope you can get a lot done while you're here. She stepped off the boardwalk and walked past him. Have a good day, Hunter. He stood and watched her leave, fascinated by the brain inside that gorgeous woman. Maybe he could get her to teach him some of her concentration tricks. It would sure make his life easier. Chapter 2. That evening, Bekah was unable to sleep, as usual. She didn't know what it was about her, but she'd never been able to sleep well at night. Her parents always referred to her as their little vampire. Rather than lie in bed staring at the ceiling in her room in the attic of the Band B, she got up and plugged her headphones into her phone. She'd go for a walk around the Band B grounds. That always helped her to sleep. She got outside and breathed in the fresh mountain air. So many people who lived in Silver Springs took the beautiful place and clean air for granted, but she'd promised herself she'd never do that. As she walked, her mind was on how she was going to find a way to motivate Jennifer. From what she'd seen after knowing the other girl since kindergarten, the only thing she really cared about was taking away Bree's boyfriends and Jack. Jack was Bree's big brother, and he'd recently hooked back up with his high school sweetheart, much to Jennifer's chagrin. Jennifer had been crushing on Jack for as long as anyone could remember. She hoped something would come to her the next day, because she had no idea what to do now. She'd never forget the look on Bree's face when Bekah had told her that Jennifer would be working for them for at least a week. Are you kidding me? Why would you agree to that? Money. Enough to make a real dent in the loan we took out for renovations. Bekah sighed. I can tell her no if I need to, but I think it's a great way to get free help and pay off loans all at the same time. Bree shook her head. You know as well as I do that she's not going to really be a help around here. She's too worried about breaking a fingernail. She's going to be my responsibility, not yours. Bekah shrugged. I'll go back and tell Mrs. Olson we can't do it. No, you won't. Just keep her out of my way. I'll do my very best. It's appreciated. Bree hugged Bekah. I don't envy you the task you have ahead of you. Bekah kept walking. Jennifer would be there at 10, which was earlier than Bekah usually got up, but she'd survive. At least she'd be able to sit and watch Jennifer work instead of doing everything herself. She would make sure the other woman could clean a potty and make a perfect hospital corner. Why not? It might be fun to see the diva do some real work for a change. She walked over to sit on the swing in the center of the gazebo, shocked to see someone else there. No one else was ever out at this time of the night. She got closer, and when she recognized Hunter, she turned to walk away. She wasn't about to disturb his work again. Wait. Bekah barely heard him over her headphones, so she plucked them out of her ears. Do you need something? Hunter shook his head. No, I just thought it would be nice to have someone to talk to for a bit. Back in Denver, he was always alone. He had friends, but when he was working on a book, he'd go for 3 or 4 months without seeing anyone other than the people who delivered food to him. He had a gym there in his home, and everything he needed was delivered. Thank heavens for Amazon. Bekah shrugged, walking over to him and sitting beside him on the swing. She noticed he didn't have a phone or laptop out. He did have a pen and a small notebook though. What are you doing with that? She asked. He looked down at his hands and shrugged sheepishly. I tend to take notes of everything around me. I want to remember everything I see, hear, feel, or smell. It helps me to be a better writer. Why not just type it into your phone? Or better yet, dictate it. He shrugged. I remember it better this way, because it has more of an impact on me to actually write something. I'm not writing books in here, of course, but the notes I take almost always end up in a book somewhere. I think that's great. What are you doing out here at this time of night? She shrugged. I'm something of a night owl. That's why my cousin and I are such good business partners. She's an early bird. She makes breakfast every morning, and I sleep in. He laughed. I'm a night owl too. I find that night time is a good time for me to just think and collect my thoughts for what I want to write the next day. Did you end up getting something done today, then? I had the best day ever. I wrote 5,000 words after I got back up to my room. I think I'm going to bring my laptop out here tomorrow and try to write. He rested his head on the back of the swing. I hope you know how wonderful this little place is. Even the air here just smells better. Bekah smiled. I know. This place, it's really special. I had the privilege of being raised here, and I don't see myself ever leaving. He turned toward her on the bench. So you have family here? She nodded. Lots of family here. There are 10 Roberts cousins, and most of us still live here. There are a couple who are in and out of town, but most of us can't imagine living anywhere but here. I know someone here is a musical lover. You don't miss getting to see them live? That's Bree, and she goes to Denver often to see plays if she has the desire. I used to go with her, but Anthony will be going now, I'm sure. I think she'll be more settled now that the band B is up and running, and now that she has Anthony in her life. Her husband? Has she been married long? Just since the end of May. I've never seen two people more in love. All the Roberts made it for life. Her cousin, Jack, had met a girl in high school, and he'd never been able to move on from her, even though they'd split for a few years. And how long have you been open? We opened April 1st. Bree and I always dreamed of opening a band B together. When we were teens, we'd tell our grandma that she needed to turn her house into a band B. She died while we were in college, and she left the house to us, so we started renovations right away. This is what she wanted us to do with it. She sighed. I just wish she could have been here to see it. We're pretty proud of this place. You should be. I have a feeling I'll be coming here more often to finish books. Why not just move here? I happen to know the best real estate agents in all of Colorado. Oh? My parents. She grinned at him. Seriously, though, if you want to move here, I could hook you up. Let's see how writing the book goes. I assume if I lived here, I'd have to actually shop for groceries. Bekah sighed. You don't shop for groceries? He shrugged. I use a service. I'm sure you could hire some students from the college here to go to the grocery store for you. It would be the ultimate in laziness, but you could do it. Why lazy? I'm working all the time. I don't have time to go to the grocery store. She rolled her eyes. You don't spend even an hour of the week frivolously? You can spare that hour? He frowned. I spend time playing video games, sure, but I don't have time for the grocery store. Lazy. That's all there is to it. You'll probably let poor Bree make your breakfast and lunch every day so you don't have to walk all the way to your car to eat too, won't you? Why wouldn't I take advantage of breakfast at a bed and breakfast? Don't you know what the second word there means? She rolled her eyes. And lunch? Bree's lunches are outstanding. They are wonderful, but they're not all that exciting. I write the excitement I need into my world. Mundane suits me just fine. Hunter looked at her, studying her. Do you need excitement? Need it? No, probably not. Sometimes I crave it. Don't you ever have a day where you just want to kick off your shoes and go dancing until dawn? He shook his head. Nope. Usually that means drinking until dawn as well, and I'm not much of a drinker. He wasn't a partier at all. Never had been. You don't have to be a drinker. I drink lemonade when I dance until dawn. Bekah got to her feet, taking his hand and pulling him to his. Dance with me. Haven't you ever wanted to dance in the moonlight? No. Why would I want that? Why wouldn't you? She asked. It should be on your bucket list. She pulled her headphones out of her phone and turned the music up louder. Dance with me, Hunter. He looked at her for a moment, surprised by her. Women didn't just grab him and ask him to dance. She took his hand and put it at her waist, gripping his other hand as a slow song started to play. I don't really dance. She shrugged. Just sway to the music then. No one will take your man card for that. You're a girl. What do you know about man cards? She rolled her eyes. I have a brother. And male cousins. Trust me. I know about man cards. She put her hand on his shoulder and swayed with him in the moonlight. I could do this every night. You should write a book about dancing in gazebos as midnight. He laughed softly. Wrong genre. That might cut it in a romance novel, but mystery books are all about the whodunit. She wrinkled her nose. There needs to be romance in everyone's life. How can you survive without romance? He shrugged. I seem to have managed okay so far. I'm sure there's been some romance in your life. Most people need romance like they need air. She tried not to sound like she was prying as she asked. Of course, she was trying to get as much information from him as possible. He was interesting. Not me. I haven't dated much. He'd always been the nerd. The editor of the school paper. The boy that tutored English. He was 150 pounds and 6'4" when he started college. He'd learned to eat a little more and exercise, so he wasn't the string bean he once was, but he was still not anyone's dream man. Are you kidding me? A handsome man like you? He shook his head at her. Handsome? You have me confused with someone else. I'm good at one thing and one thing only. And that's writing. Handsome is not a word used to describe me. She pulled back for a moment, looking up at him. Then you have spent your life around some really blind women. Trust me. Handsome fits perfectly. She smiled up at him, enjoying their little dance. You should ask me out. That's something else every man should have on his bucket list. Going out with the owner of half a band bee. He laughed out loud. Oh really? Every man should have that on his bucket list? If the world were a perfect place. And if I asked you out, where would we go? Bekah thought for a moment. Would you want a formal date, a casual sit-down date, or a wild fun date? You might need to describe each to me. This is becoming intriguing. She made him smile and laugh more than anyone he'd met in a very long time. She was special, and he wanted to get to know her better. He just hoped he wasn't too reclusive for someone as gregarious as she seemed to be. A formal date would be you wearing a suit and me in a nice dress, and we'd go to the River House, the nicest restaurant here in Silver Springs. You'd pick me up at my door, and I'd hold your arm, and we'd sit there and feel all fancy and stuff. I didn't bring a suit. Good, because I don't think a formal date would suit you anyway. Moving on. A casual sit-down date would include dinner at the Italian bistro. Good food, not quite as expensive, and we can dress up or be casual. But if we do that, then we have to follow it up with a movie to have the most fun possible on a first date. That could be fun. Do you like Italian food? She shrugged. Who doesn't? The Italian bistro does a great pizza for carry-out as well. And the wild fun date? I have to say the name is intriguing. The wild fun date, since it's summer, would be renting four-wheelers. We'd go on a path my brother recommends up into the mountains and maybe have a picnic by one of the lakes up there. Or we could hire him as a guide for a more adventurous route, but then we'd have my brother tagging along on our first date. Hunter raised an eyebrow. She seemed like an outdoorsy kind of girl. And of the three, which would you choose? Oh, I'd love to do the four-wheeler thing. We could go into the mountains, or I know this great area to go mudding in. Mudding? You know, we'd ride our four-wheelers through the mud until we were covered from head to toe. Lots of fun, but most guys assume girls don't like that kind of thing and don't want to take them. This girl loves to go mudding. Hunter laughed out loud. How about you go out with me on your next day off, and we do four-wheelers, but we go into the mountains and have a picnic by a lake. I can't imagine trying to go mudding, and then how do we wash our hands so we can eat? I can handle that. Good answer. She sighed contentedly, resting her forehead on his shoulder for a moment. Okay. I have to be up early to train someone in cleaning rooms. I'd better go. My next day off is Tuesday, by the way. It was Wednesday evening. That gave him time to write the words he should write before then. I will get ahead on my work then. I'm glad our little town is helping your writer's block. She stood on tiptoe and brushed her lips across his cheek. See you tomorrow. Hunter watched as she ran toward the house. It wasn't a run like an athlete, but more of a free-spirited run, like a gazelle. Bekah Roberts was something else. He should probably do everything he could to avoid her, but he didn't see that happening. He sat back down on the swing, picking up his notebook. He carefully jotted down what had just happened there, describing everything in detail from the look on her face to the way she'd felt in his arms. Someday he'd use it in a book. It was his goal in life to write about the human condition. And his sweet Bekah was definitely part of the human experience. Hunter blinked twice as he realized he'd written his Bekah. What was he thinking? He was only in town for 3 weeks and he'd met her mere hours earlier. She didn't belong to him. She didn't begin to belong to him. She was practically a stranger to him. No, she was no one's Bekah but her own, at least as far as he knew. Surely she'd had boyfriends along the way. She was too beautiful not to. He got to his feet and walked back toward the house, trying to find a way to put the sweet woman into the book he was writing. Everyone he met ended up in a book at some time, but he wasn't usually looking for a way he could write them in, it just happened. Bekah, though, she was special. She needed to be part of his current work in progress. If she wasn't, he'd be doing her and himself a disservice. When he got to his room, he shut and locked the door, sinking down into the chair in front of his laptop. He'd only thought he was done writing for the day. No, his detective needed to meet a sweet girl who said whatever was on her mind. He'd call her Bekah. She'd help him solve the mystery, and she'd become a recurring character. As Bekah said, everyone needed romance in their lives. Even random detectives who were only in mystery novels. It didn't matter if they were fictional, love was love. And Wally Waldorf, the hero of the Merrimack murder mysteries, was about to find the love of his life. Hunter sighed. Was it really possible to be jealous of a man you made up in your head and wrote books about? If it was, he was there. Now he knew he'd truly lost his mind. It had been coming for a while, but Bekah had tipped him over the edge. Chapter 3. First thing Thursday morning, before Bekah had even had a chance to shower, there was a pounding on her bedroom door. Guests weren't allowed onto the 3rd floor of the Band B, so she assumed it was Bree. Don't get your panties in a wad. I'm getting a shower. You don't have to be so rude. Jennifer flounced into her room. And exactly what am I supposed to do while you shower? Sit here and file my nails? Her voice was exasperated as she sat down on the edge of Bekah's bed. Bekah groaned. I'm not awake enough for you, Jennifer. Don't try my patience. Jennifer looked at Bekah with a pout. I don't want to be here any more than you want me here. Can't we just get to it? Bekah groaned, walked to her bookshelf, and pulled a Jolene Gold novel from it. Here. Read my favorite writer. Don't touch anything. Jennifer took the book. A romance? Tough Bekah Roberts reads romance? I can't wait to tell everyone. No skin off my nose. Smart women read romance. Bekah gathered up clothes to put on before slipping into the bathroom. Jennifer wasn't going to make it through the day before she had Bekah's fist in her mouth. She took her time showering and dressing, fussing with her hair longer than usual, but not to impress Hunter. As much as she liked him, she wanted him to get to know the real her, not the dolled-up version everyone seemed to expect from her. No, she was taking her time to annoy Jennifer. The more she could annoy her, the happier she'd be. When she finally stepped out, Jennifer was obviously engrossed in the book. Bekah slipped her shoes on and took the book away. Time to get to work. Hey, I was just getting to the good part. And why does she keep using bobalicious in her book like it's a real word? She's trying to get it into the dictionary. Bekah opened the door that led to the hallway. Are you ready? We keep the cleaning supplies in a closet on the second floor. After descending the stairs, she opened the closet and pulled out the cleaning cart, pushing it at Jennifer. We only have one here, because we take turns doing the rooms. They're all yours for the time you work for me. I'll get the vacuum, but all I'm doing is supervising. I'm not going to do the work for you. Get that through your head right now. Jennifer sighed heavily. It depends on what you have me using. I'm allergic to a lot of cleaning supplies. This is going to be a rough job for you then, isn't it? Bekah led the way to the end of the hall. She saw that Hunter's door had a Do Not Disturb sign up, so she went to the other end. She knew he'd been up later than she had. We'll start at this end. We try to avoid bothering any guests who are sleeping. Whatever. Bekah knocked on the door. Housekeeping. When there was no response, she opened the door and went in. Mr. and Mrs. Frank checked out this morning. She smiled when she saw the chocolate they'd left on the dresser, along with a nice note. Thank you, Bree and Bekah. You made our stay wonderful. We had a great baby moon, and we know it was all because of you. If you ever make it to Laramie, we'll give you a huge discount on Frank's fudge. Al and Aaron Frank. She tucked the 2 boxes of chocolate into the apron she wore, before turning back to Jennifer. Start with the bathroom first. All towels need to be switched out. Take the glasses that are on the counter and replace them with the clean ones in the cart. Make sure you put the glasses in the bin for them, so Bree can wash them. Jennifer nodded dejectedly. Do you have any idea how much I hate this job? You'll survive. Bekah almost felt sorry for her, but she knew why the girl had been forced to get a job, and she knew it was necessary for the whole town's well-being for Jennifer to keep her job. If she was allowed to run free, she would be in everyone's business, causing problems once again. Jennifer looked at the toilet cleaner in the cart. This is the kind I'm allergic to. I can't do the toilets. Sorry. You're not allergic to any of it. Your mother already told me. But I don't know how. It's not that hard. Bekah briefly explained how to use the brush to clean the toilet. I'm sure a smart girl like you can do it. She went through the room, making sure the guests hadn't left anything behind while Jennifer cleaned. When Jennifer came out of the bathroom a few minutes later, her nose wrinkled in disgust, Bekah couldn't help but grin. Is it done? Yes. Bekah went into the bathroom to check behind her, lifting the seat and showing her more of what needed to be cleaned away. You also need to wash off the back of the tank. It's not fun, but it is necessary. We're known for being very clean here, and that reputation isn't going to change just because you're a pain in my behind. You can't say that to me, Jennifer said, her eyes flashing. Bekah took a step closer to Jennifer. They'd gotten into a fight once when they were in junior high, and Jennifer had Bree in tears for the third time in a week. Bekah hadn't been able to control her temper, and Jennifer had ended up on the floor with blood flooding down her face. "Don't make me bloody your nose again, Jennifer. I'm not afraid to do it. I'm your employee. You can't talk to me that way. I'll sue you for harassment." Bekah laughed. "My Uncle Steve would love to get his hands on that case. Besides, you're not my employee. Your mother is paying me to train you. Do you have any idea how much she felt the need to pay me because no one else wanted to have to be around you?" Jennifer glared at her. "You never were nice to me, Bekah Roberts. And you never were nice to anyone, Jennifer Olson. Grow up and clean that toilet." Jennifer stomped into the bathroom, and Bekah put some music on her phone. It would be a lot easier to deal with Jennifer if she could enjoy some music while she did it. The first song that came on was a favorite of hers, Whiskey and Women by Quinn Dawson. She smiled and danced along to the beat. "Are you kidding me?" Jennifer asked, coming out of the bathroom to find Bekah dancing to the music. "My mother is paying you so I can do your job, and you're dancing around instead of helping?" "Sounds about right," Bekah said, her lopsided grin taking over her face. "Sometimes it just pays to be nice to people." "I'm nice to people. People other than men you're trying to steal from other women, I mean. There are days when I think you're the least obnoxious of all your family, and then there are days when I hate you so much I want to push you out a window. I never think you're less obnoxious than anyone. Does that make you feel any better?" Bree asked sweetly. "Now, I want you to fold the point of the toilet paper into a little triangle so it looks nice for the next guests." An hour later, they were just finishing up their second room. Bekah still wanted to slap the other woman, but she hadn't, so far. It was taking 4 times as long as it would have taken to do the job herself, but she was being paid well for the training time, so she wouldn't stop. "After this room, I need a snack break." She usually ate as soon as she woke up, but it was lunch she ate. She'd gotten up earlier than usual to train Jennifer, and she needed to eat before the hangry set in. Besides, she wanted to give Bree her box of chocolate from the Franks. "Fine. How many hours am I expected to work today, anyway?" "Until all the rooms are clean. There are 8, and it's taken you an hour to do 2. So we're probably looking at 4 hours for the rooms. But then you need to learn how to clean the parlor and help with the dishes. You're not going to make me work with Bree, are you? You know I can't control my tongue around Bree. You can't control your tongue around anyone. You're just mean, Jennifer." Bekah closed up the door and locked it behind her. The guests in that room would be back that evening. "Come on. Let's see what Bree has left from breakfast." Jennifer followed along behind Bekah sullenly. Bekah realized she probably should have left her upstairs, but she was afraid of the damage the woman could do if left to her own devices. Breakfast was just ending when Bekah walked into the dining room, her eyes immediately going to Hunter. He gave her half a smile, and she returned his smile with a wink. "Is our breakfast everything you'd heard it would be?" Bekah asked, lingering beside him. Bree came in and looked back and forth between the two, seeming to read Bekah's mind. The cousins were only a week apart and had been through everything together, from learning to walk to graduating from high school. "Bekah, go ahead and eat with Hunter, and I'll teach Jennifer to help me with the dishes." Bekah looked at her cousin and grinned. "Thanks, Bree. What do you have left?" Bree frowned. "Lots of stuff. I'll bring it." Bekah took her seat beside Hunter and nodded for Jennifer to follow Bree. Jennifer, being Jennifer, locked onto Hunter. "Hi, I'm Jennifer." "Hi," Hunter said, concentrating on his meal. There was something about the woman that made him uncomfortable. "Jennifer, go learn to do dishes. Now." Bekah pulled the pitcher of orange juice from the middle of the table toward her, pouring herself a glass. She knew Bree would be there in a minute with her coffee. Jennifer looked back and forth between Bekah and Hunter, walking off with a huff. Bekah rolled her eyes as she left. Learn to do dishes? Who doesn't know how to do dishes? Didn't she have a mother? Bekah sighed. Jennifer is the problem child of the owners of the hotel next door. They're paying me a ridiculous amount of money to teach her to clean. Hunter raised an eyebrow. Couldn't they just ask the head of their housekeeping staff to teach her? Were any of the maids there? They all threatened to quit after working with Jennifer for a couple of days. You have to understand just how snotty and rotten Jennifer is. Bekah rubbed the back of her neck. Truly, if not for the money and the need to maintain a good relationship with the hotel, I wouldn't be doing it. She sounds like a joy to work with, he said sarcastically. Oh yeah. I can't wait to finish breakfast so I can go and watch her clean more bathrooms. She shook her head. How'd you sleep? After I went back to my room, I wrote another 2,000 words. Hunter grinned at her. I have never written that much in a day before. This place is good for me. She was good for him, but he didn't add that. All of the new words he'd added had been about the beautiful brunette helping his hero. That's great. I'm so happy for you. Bekah smiled at her cousin when she came in with a small bowl of eggs, a plate of bacon, and a basket of muffins. That's all we've got left, so I hope it'll be enough. I'll be right back with your coffee. Would you like more coffee, Hunter? He nodded. I would please. He watched as Bekah filled her plate. I'm hoping to do as well today as I did yesterday. That would more than make up for the fact that I won't be working on Tuesday. I'm excited to show you the area, Bekah said, taking a sip of her juice. I can't wait to see it. I've only been here a day, and I already feel like I belong. Bekah looked up when her cousin and his fiancée walked into the dining room. Jack reached for a muffin while Aaron smiled. Where's Bree? The girl asked. We need to talk about when we're going to get bridesmaid dresses. She's in the kitchen with Jennifer. She'll be back any second with more coffee, so you don't have to face the evil one. Aaron laughed, sitting down at the table. I want a muffin so bad. But I also want to fit into my wedding dress. Jack collapsed into a chair beside his fiancée. Take a muffin. We'll walk it off later. And really, who cares if they have to take your wedding dress out a little? You will always be the most beautiful woman in the world to me. Hunter looked at the couple across from them, noting the lopsided smile on the man's face. You must be related to Bekah and Bree. I'm Jack Roberts. Bree's brother. Bekah's cousin. And future husband to the beautiful Erin. Aaron made a face. I don't know how you can call me beautiful with this scar on my face, but I'm glad you don't see it. I see what I've always seen, Jack said softly. The girl who makes my heart melt. Bree walked into the room, then with a coffee cup and a pot of coffee. I figured I'd just leave this for the two of you. She frowned at Jack. Do you guys need coffee? Jack shook his head, holding up a to-go cup from Books and Beans. Nope, we got some from Emma on our way here. Erin smiled at her future sister-in-law, and Hunter felt a little relieved he wasn't the only person in the room without a lopsided smile. We need to set a date for bridesmaid dress shopping. Emma said she can do tomorrow if you can. Bree frowned. What time? I need to be able to at least cook breakfast. I can leave the cleaning to Bekah and Jennifer, but I can't leave them to cook. Jack wrinkled his nose. Of course you can't. I've eaten Bekah's cooking. And what is Jennifer doing working here? Bree looked over her shoulder. I need to get back to her. Bekah will explain. She started to walk away, but turned back. Text me with a time, Aaron. I can go as long as it's afternoon. That's fine. I'll make sure it is, Aaron said as Bree hurried away. Aaron turned wide eyes to Bekah. What's going on? Why is that? She took a deep breath. Sometimes that girl makes me forget I'm a lady and don't use that kind of language. Why is Jennifer here? Her mother is paying me a king's ransom to teach her how to clean rooms. Remember at Bree's reception when her parents told her she had to get a job? Well, no one would hire her. No one. Her parents tried to call in favors, but still, no one. So they finally hired her to clean the rooms at the hotel, but she was so ugly to the other maids and the head of housekeeping that they all threatened to quit. So Mrs. Olson is paying me to teach her. Jack threw his head back and laughed. That woman is a mess. I hope they're really making it worth your while. Trust me, they are. Bekah ate a bite of her bacon. How does Bree make bacon taste this good, I ask you? It's always so crisp, but not burnt, and it tastes just perfect. Hunter looked at Bekah. I take it from this conversation that you can't cook. Not at all. I hope you didn't think I'd provide the picnic for our date, because I won't. Bree will, so you won't starve or end up with food poisoning. Trust me, it's for the best. He shook his head, grinning. Pulling out his notebook, he quickly wrote down what she'd said to him. Bekah shook her head. Forgive Hunter. He's a bigwig writer here to finish his next book. He takes notes on everything around him, but I think it's cute, so don't start laughing at him about it or anything. Jack smiled. I wouldn't dare. We all have silly things we do. Like driving past trees, Erin said, her eyes on Jack. Just make sure you tell me when you're going there, so I can be sure Tank is there to rescue you. He caught her fingers and kissed them. Bekah looked at the two of them longingly. She didn't want her cousin, of course, but having a love of her own, that would be a dream come true. Chapter 4. Bekah took her time over breakfast, not really thinking as she laughed with Jack, Aaron, and Hunter. She glanced at the clock as she reached for another cup of coffee and realized she'd left Jennifer alone with Bree for a full half hour. I only meant to take 10 minutes to eat. Bree has got to be losing her mind. I'm sorry. I need to run. Without thinking, she leaned down and brushed her lips against Hunter's cheek before running off. Hunter sat and stared at the empty doorway for a moment after she was gone. She's something else, he muttered. Jack laughed. She sure is. She and Bree have lived in one another's pockets since they were infants. She's more like a sister than a cousin to me. Trust me, you've got your work cut out for you if you're after that one. Hunter frowned. What does that mean? Bekah's never been serious about a man. Oh, she dates. She's always out with someone, but her heart never ever gets involved. She's got it locked up tighter than Fort Knox. He stopped when Aaron elbowed him in the side. Of course, she's worth more than all the gold in the world. Aaron stood up. I think we need to go before Jack lets his tongue run away from him. She grabbed her fiancé's hand and tugged him toward the door. It was nice meeting you, Hunter. I hope you'll be at the wedding. When is it? He asked. 3 weeks from Saturday. I should still be here then. I'll think about it. It probably depends on whether my book is done or not. Jack nodded, smiling. We'd be happy to have you. On your own or as Bekah's date. After they were gone, Hunter made another note in his notebook. He wasn't sure what to make of Jack's comment. Asterisk. Bekah rushed into the kitchen to find Jennifer sitting at the table flipping through a cookbook, while Bree did the dishes herself. I told you to help Bree. Jennifer shrugged. She didn't feel like teaching me. Bekah looked at Bree, knowing there was a real explanation somewhere. I told her that she could scrape the dishes while I put them in the dishwasher, And she said she's allergic to touching other people's food, and then she sat down and refused to work. She's your responsibility, so I just ignored her. Bekah sighed. Have you finished scraping everything? Yup. Only a couple of pans left to wash, and I'm done for the day. Jennifer will do all the dishes in the morning then. While you serve, we'll be in here, learning how to do it right. Won't we, Jennifer? Jennifer made a face. I don't know why you think you can boss me around. Because your mother's paying me to do so, and I have no problem getting violent with you, again. Bekah felt like a child with the constant threats, but she knew of no other way to get through to her. Her parents obviously hadn't ruled with an iron hand the way the Roberts family had. Jennifer rolled her eyes. Fine. Dishes for me tomorrow. Yay. Come on. Back to cleaning potties with you. I hate you. I really hate you. Bekah nodded. That's nice. Upstairs with you. Bekah winked at her cousin as soon as Jennifer's back was turned. See you when we're done. She stopped short. I almost forgot the Franks left these. 1 box for each of us. She handed Bree her box of chocolates. I think it would be great if we started buying their chocolates in bulk for candy dishes around the Bandby and to put on pillows at night. Think about it. Bree took the box with a grin. I will. Bekah hurried after Jennifer and heard her griping. I hate cleaning bathrooms. I hate doing dishes. I hate making beds. Why can't I do something that I like for a living? Because there are no jobs where people will pay you for stealing other women's boyfriends. Sorry, Jennifer. Life just doesn't work that way. Why are you always so mean to me? Jennifer asked, her voice at its whiniest. Why are you mean to every woman I know? If you can find the answer to that, you'll find why I'm mean to you. Because you need it. Bekah led the way to the next room, glad that most of the guests were out for the day. As she was unlocking the door, she saw Hunter head into his room. Do you want your room cleaned today? She called out to him. Hunter contemplated for a moment before nodding. I'm going to spend a couple of hours in the gazebo writing. If you want to get it while I'm out, that would be great. We'll head over there as soon as we finish this one, she responded. You're always talking to Hunter, Jennifer said. Tell me about him. He's a man who is staying here at the Bandby. There's nothing else I can tell you due to guest confidentiality. If Jennifer tried to sink her claws into Hunter, she'd take her down. No one brought out her violent side quite like Jennifer did. You're just being mean. It's time to work, Jennifer. Now. Bekah turned her music on again, watching as Jennifer cleaned the toilet right. It was the first time she'd done so, but Bekah was sure she'd only done it right so she wouldn't have to keep doing it. Good job. You did that perfectly. Wow, the great Bekah Roberts gives a compliment. Jennifer wiped down the counter and started on the mirror. I give a lot of compliments, Jennifer. You've just never deserved one. Bekah went out to pick up the room as best she could with all the guests' things laying everywhere. This particular couple wasn't the neatest in the world, but she was simply glad they weren't in the room while they were trying to clean. That was the worst. Trying to save time, she quickly made up the bed and opened the curtains. This was her favorite room, the Sound of Music room. She wasn't looking forward to Jennifer seeing the ugly paint on the wall in the wicked room. Jennifer came out of the bathroom 5 minutes later. I just have to stock the towels, and I'm done. She looked at the rest of the room, her eyes wide. Thank you for helping me. You're welcome. You did such a good job on the toilet that I thought I should give you some help. Bekah hoped that she could not only teach the other woman how to clean, but also teach her to be nice. Someone had to. Stepping into the bathroom, she looked around with a smile. Jennifer had even folded the toilet paper into a point like she'd taught her. You did a really good job in here. Jennifer smiled slightly. Thank you. Bekah was surprised to see that Jennifer seemed pleased with herself. Did she just need a little praise to act like a human for a change? We're heading down to do Hunter's room next. If you'll just run the vacuum in here, I'll push the cart down and get started there. It's the room all the way on the end on the right. Jennifer nodded, plugging in the vacuum. Bekah shook her head as she made the long walk down the hall. She wasn't sure what to think, but she was still afraid to turn her back on the persnickety woman. Starting on the main room, she opened the curtains and picked up a couple of pieces of notebook paper that had fallen to the floor. The remains of his boxed lunch from the day before were on the nightstand, and she threw those out, emptying the trash cans. She'd let Jennifer continue to do the bathrooms, because she wanted her to get good at one thing before she moved on. Having her do the entire first 2 rooms by herself had been a mistake. Now she was going to try to change things up a little to see if she could improve her teaching methods. Jennifer joined her a short while later, pushing the vacuum along the hall. You want me to start on the bathroom? Yup. That's your job. Jennifer wrinkled her nose, but she took the potty brush and the cleaners and she got to work. Bekah made the bed and dusted the furniture. She plugged in the vacuum and worked on the floor, surprised when Jennifer finished a minute before she did. She shut off the vacuum and checked on the bathroom, nodding and smiling at her pupil. You did a really good job. I think you're getting the hang of it. Jennifer actually smiled. Thank you. Every time I tried to clean at the hotel, someone told me I did something wrong, and it made me feel like I'd never get good at it. Bekah smiled and patted Jennifer on the arm. No one is born knowing how to clean. You have to be taught by someone. You always had a maid growing up, didn't you? Jennifer sighed dramatically. And now I am one. You'll survive. We've always had to work for our spending money. Your parents were mean. My parents wanted me to have the best of everything, and I never had to work. Bekah looked at Jennifer. Do you really think my parents were mean? Look at us. I'm a successful businesswoman, and I'm happy. I truly enjoy my life. You're miserable, and you spend all your time trying to make the people around you miserable. Yes, you were given everything. I think I was the more fortunate. She let that sink in as she unplugged the vacuum to go to the next room. Jennifer seemed to be deep in thought throughout the cleaning of the rest of the rooms. As soon as they were finished, she sighed. I guess we're done for the day. Bekah laughed. You don't think the main areas of the house need to be cleaned? There are 2 bathrooms downstairs that need your new expertise. I'll vacuum and dust while you deal with the bathrooms. And the kitchen floor will need to be scrubbed as soon as we're done. Bree'll be in the kitchen, Jennifer complained. What is your problem with Bree? Everyone in the world loves her except you. Jennifer sighed. That's my problem with Bree. Bekah shook her head as she watched Jennifer push the cart down to the closet to put it away. The girl was odd. There was obviously something very screwed up in her head. By the time Jennifer left for the day, Bekah was exhausted, and she still had her outside chores to do. She looked up as Bree approached. I'm going to have to hire someone to mow the lawn if I work with Jennifer for much longer. That woman wears me out. She didn't get any better, did she? Actually, go look at the downstairs bathrooms. They look amazing. She figured out how to do the job. It's just, she hates you so much. I think that's the worst part of it all for her. She can't stand working for you. Bree shook her head. I don't know what her problem is. I really don't. Do I need to stay late so you can mow the lawn? Would it hurt you to stay an extra hour tonight? You'll have most of the day off tomorrow. Bekah knew they were still waiting on one couple, and it would be best if they could be greeted by someone who wasn't covered in grass stains and mowing the lawn. I can do that. I'll call Anthony and let him know. Bekah hugged her cousin. Thanks. We're a partnership. You're doing a lot for our business by dealing with Princess Mean Girl. Bekah smiled, heading out to the shed behind the property. She could see Hunter sitting in the gazebo, and she wished she had time to chat with him for a bit, but she really didn't. She needed to get the lawn mowed fast so Bree could go home to her new husband. An hour later, she ran up to shower the green off her skin and then went to sit in the parlor, waiting for the final guests to arrive. She was surprised it hadn't happened yet, but she couldn't complain. It was her job to be at their convenience, not the other way around. She was flipping through channels when Hunter joined her. "What are you doing for dinner?" he asked. She shrugged. "I have no idea. I might see if Bree has anything in the freezer for me. Sometimes she brings me her leftovers and freezes them so I'll have something good to eat on nights like this, when I'm trapped here waiting for a guest to arrive. I could go pick something up for us. Would you mind?" Her mind flipped through all the places in town. You could get a pizza from the Italian bistro. Or you could run through the Golden Arches. Or get a sandwich from Books and Beans. Books and Beans? Coffee shop and bookstore combo that Bree's sister Emma runs. It's on Main Street, just a couple of blocks south. She does sandwiches and soup. Hunter made a face as he thought about it. Is pizza the only thing you can carry out from the Italian place? Not at all. They make a mean lasagna. And I'm totally craving a chicken fettuccine Alfredo. Who is Alfredo anyway? Have you ever wondered that? Bekah asked, smiling her lopsided grin. Does everyone in your family have that same grin? He asked, mesmerized by her. She nodded. Well, all of the dads and all of us cousins. Our moms don't, because they're not related to the dads, which is good because you know, I'm happy to hear that your moms are not related to your dads. Family trees really should have branches. Even when you feel the need to prune them often. Do you have a big family? He shook his head. I have a brother. No cousins. You'll have to hide if the whole family comes around then. I can't imagine how you'd react to the full Roberts clan. We're a mess. And there are how many of you? My grandmother, the one we inherited this house from, had 3 boys. Steve, Ralph, and Robert. Each boy married. Steve had 2 sons and a daughter, Ralph had 2 daughters and a son, and Bob had a son and 3 daughters. So there are 10 grandkids total. Wow. That is a big family. Bekah nodded. The best thing about it is we're all close. We really do care about each other. He watched her face for a moment before nodding. You and Bree seem to be extra close. Yeah, we are. We were born a week apart, and we've always been best friends as well as cousins. She's as much sister as cousin. She looked at him, clutching her stomach. How did we get sidetracked? I'm starving. He laughed. Do you have a menu for the Italian place? She jumped up and ran to a bookshelf, getting a binder marked menus and bringing it to him. Bree is the most organized human being in the whole world. It's even alphabetized. He grinned, flipping through until he found the right menu. You said the lasagna is good? Delicious. Okay, I'll get the lasagna. And you want the fettuccine? Yup. If you'll go pick it up, I'll call in an order. Tell them it's for Bekah. They know me there. Is there anywhere in town they don't know you? Hunter asked with a grin. Absolutely not. I've lived here all my life. I was born in the hospital here in town. Nice. I'm on my way. Wait, let me give you money for my share. He shook his head. Nope. My treat. Seems I asked you on the first date, huh? He winked as he left the house. Bekah stared after him, a grin playing at her lips. Who would have thought she could fall for a writer? She'd always pictured herself in love with a ski instructor, or a rock climber. No, as many of them as she'd dated, it just hadn't happened for her. A mystery writer. How many years would it take her to get over that? Hopefully before the first of the babies were born. The door chimed and Bekah hurried into the hallway. "Hi, I'm Bekah Roberts. You must be Mr. and Mrs. Baynard." She blinked at the little blonde in front of her. "Wait. Aren't you Mary Beth from Lazy Love?" The girl smiled. "I am. Amber Knight is my professional name. We're here to hide for a while. You don't have paparazzi all over Silver Springs, do you?" "Not so far." Bekah shook her head. "My cousin and I watch the show religiously." "It's very nice to meet you." Amber smiled, shaking her hand. "It's nice to meet you too." Bekah pulled a key out of her pocket. "Sorry, I was starstruck for a minute there, but I promise not to hound you obsessively. Your room is room 6. Go to the top of the stairs, and it's the second room on the left. Breakfast is from 6 to 10 in the morning, and it's served in the dining room. If you need anything, just ask. I live on the 3rd floor, and if you push the help button on the phone in your room, it'll wake me and I'll come down." "Sounds great." Amber took the key. "See you in the morning for breakfast." When Hunter got back with the food a few minutes later, Bekah was still excited. "Amber Knight is staying here with her husband." "Who's Amber Knight?" "Don't you watch Lazy Love?" "I'm not really a television person. I'll binge watch something between books, but that's about it." "You are missing out." She shook her head at him as she led him into the kitchen. Chapter 5. After they'd eaten, Bekah looked at Hunter. "Want to go for a walk?" "That's my favorite part of living here. Late at night when the stars are out, and I can walk." "You don't have to stay here?" "I'll forward any calls to my cell." "It's fine." She often walked around late at night. She couldn't stay in when it was so gorgeous outside. She didn't know how anyone could. "Sounds good then." He loved walking late at night when other people were in bed. It wasn't that late yet, but he would never turn down the opportunity to spend time with her. 3 weeks of stolen moments would never be enough. She set up the forwarding, and they left the house. She kept hoping he'd reach for her hand, but when he hadn't after they'd passed the gazebo, she reached for his. "Do you mind?" she asked. Hunter looked down at her with surprise. Why would he mind if she held his hand? "I don't mind. I might even like it." "Oh, you might? How will I know if you do like it?" "I had no idea I was so mysterious until I met you. I think you see me differently than most people do." He thought he was an open book most of the time. Why couldn't she read him? "Why do you say that?" she asked. It couldn't be true, could it? She'd seen the way Jennifer looked at him when she'd realized there was a man in town who didn't know about her man-eating ways. As soon as the words filtered through her brain, she started humming the song, "Man-Eater" by Hall & Oates. He looked at her for a moment. "Is that Man-Eater? Why did you suddenly start humming that?" She blushed, glad he couldn't see her in the dark. "I was thinking about how Jennifer zeroed in on you today, because you were fresh meat. And then I started thinking about the song, and I didn't really even realize I was humming it." "Is she really that bad?" he asked. He'd sensed something was off about the woman, but he had no idea what it was. "And why would anyone zero in on him?" She laughed. "You don't understand about Jennifer. Jennifer has stolen every single boyfriend Bree has had. Well, until Anthony refused to be stolen. And she tried to break up Aaron and Jack more than once. She's a snake." Bekah shook her head. "That's mean of me. I try not to say bad things about people. Of course, no one deserves it quite like Jennifer does. So why are you training her again? She sighed. I feel like I owe her parents a favor. They've always been really kind. Bree and I had a lot of questions for them when we were opening the band bee. Also, we had to take out a loan to finish the renovations, which we didn't want to do. We'll be able to pay off a good chunk of that debt thanks to the money her parents are paying me. No one else will work with her. That's really sad. Can you imagine having to pay someone to let your kid work for them? He shook his head. Maybe it's best if I don't think about it too much. I'll start feeling sorry for her. Bekah groaned. Just don't ask her out. She'd never let me live it down. Why wouldn't she? He didn't really understand city women, and small-town women seemed to be even more complicated. It was starting to hurt his head. Because she knows I'm interested in you. I should work harder at hiding it, but I've never been good at subterfuge. What you see is what you get where I'm concerned, I'm afraid. Hunter stopped walking, pulling her to a stop beside him. You're interested in wasting a couple of weeks with me while I'm here on vacation, right? Bekah looked up at him, liking the way his blue eyes sparkled in the moonlight. Well, okay, here's the truth. I told you, I'm not good with subterfuge. She took a deep breath. I'm really interested in you. I'm looking at you and imagining a white wedding and babies in a stroller. And I never imagine babies in a stroller. I can't figure out where that's coming from. She tilted her head to the side. That may be because Mom is obsessing about all the marriages and all the grandbabies she's thinking to get. She's already in love with my brother Spike's girlfriend's kid, Ethan. I think she's going a bit overboard. He stared at her for a moment, wondering how he was supposed to respond to that. Your cousin said that you never get serious about anyone, and you date all kinds of guys. My cousin? Which one? Bekah saw red, wondering which of her blabbermouth cousins she needed to yell at. She knew it couldn't be Bree. Bree could keep a secret, no matter how she was tortured. She wouldn't have said a word. Must be Jack, unless he'd met another cousin she didn't know about, which was entirely possible. You couldn't swing a dead cat in Silver Springs without hitting a Roberts. The one at breakfast this morning. Jack? She rolled her eyes. Jack has his head up his butt half the time. He knows nothing. I do date some, but it's not like I'm dating a lot. Maybe once or twice a month I'll go out, but there aren't any interesting men in all of Silver Springs. Trust me. I know them all. That's what worries me, he said softly. Why does that worry you? Of course, I know people. I've lived here my whole life. She stepped closer to him, wishing he'd put her out of her misery and just kiss her. Anticipating that first kiss was going to be the end of her. Well, it sounds like you've dated every eligible man within a 5-mile radius. He shrugged. I'm not exactly a ladies' man. So what? I've dated a lot of guys, but I've never dated seriously. Usually they leave me at my door with a peck on the cheek. She frowned at him. You're not implying that I'm a tramp, are you? A tramp? Nice word. No, I don't think you're a tramp. I just get the feeling you're more experienced in the ways of the opposite sex than I am. He tried hard to word things so he wouldn't sound like he was accusing her of something. She shook her head. I seriously doubt that's true. She sighed. I want to kick my cousin. He made me sound like a trollop. A trollop? He couldn't help but grin at her. We'll just keep things casual. He wanted more from her, but he couldn't handle being yesterday's news. Not with her anyway. She took a step closer to him, grabbing 2 fists full of t-shirt. I think I'm already too far gone for that. If he wouldn't kiss her, then by George she was going to kiss him. She pulled him down to her, pressing her lips against his. Hunter took a deep breath, his hands going to her waist to pull her closer. As nervous as she made him with her honesty, he was so attracted to her, he couldn't bear to stand still while she kissed him. He deepened the kiss, pulling her to him until their bodies were pressed tightly together. As soon as he took over the kiss, Bekah was lost. She'd been kissed before. Probably more times than she should have been by a lot more men than she should have let kiss her. But when Hunter's lips pressed against hers, she forgot where she was and who she was. She wrapped her arms around his neck and clung to him, feeling tingles shooting through her body. When he finally raised his head, they were both slightly out of breath. She rested her forehead against his shoulder. Your kisses pack a wallop there, Hunter. He chuckled softly, loving having her so close. I could say the same for you. Give me a chance. Give us a chance. She felt like an idiot pleading with him that way, but what did she have to lose? She could lose everything if she didn't ask him to give them a chance, and she knew he was the man for her. There would never be another man uniquely made just for her. Maybe she was crazy to be so certain, but she was sure. She knew it with every fiber of her being. He brought her closer, kissing the top of her head. I'll try. That's all I ask. She wrapped her arms around him and held him close. She never wanted to let go. We should be getting back. I meant to break long enough to get supper, and that was 3 hours ago. She nodded. I don't ever want to get in the way of your work. With her hand firmly in his, they headed back to the Band B. She stopped on the front porch, plopping down onto the swing. I'm going to read on my phone for a little while. I'm enjoying the night air too much to go in. Why don't I get my laptop, and I can join you? Would you? She asked. I'd love to. I'll run in and get my Kindle then. He opened the door and held it for her, and she rushed up the stairs to get her Kindle. When they got back down, he frowned. Where exactly do you live? I thought you were on the 2nd floor. She shook her head. No, we wanted the 2nd floor for guest rooms, so Bree and I had the attic converted to a little apartment for us to share. 2 bedrooms and a bath, so more of a suite, I guess, but now she lives with Anthony, and I'm here alone. He sank into the lounger there on the front porch while she took the porch swing. She pulled up the book she was currently reading on her Kindle, one of his, but she didn't tell him that. She wasn't a huge fan of mysteries, and she'd have to see if she thought he was worth reading before she mentioned she was reading his book. Bekah loved the sounds of nature, along with the clicking of the keys on his laptop. She simply felt like she was close to him as he worked away. She almost felt guilty that he was working, and she wasn't, but she'd put in a long, hard day. Working with Jennifer for 10 minutes would have made for a long, hard day. She wasn't looking forward to the girl coming back the following day, but at least she knew she had the bathrooms down. One more day with Jennifer on bathroom and her on the rest of the room, and they'd be able to switch. She hoped. Looking down at the Kindle in her hands, she forced herself to read a couple more pages. She just didn't enjoy mysteries. She'd make it through at least one, so she could tell him she'd read a book of his, though. The tapping of the keys stopped, and she looked up. He was looking over at her. She smiled at him. Stuck? He shook his head. Not at all. I'm more inspired than I've been in a very long time. He looked back down and started typing away again, leaving her to watch him work for a moment. She stood, not wanting to bother him by watching him type. I'm going to go get some lemonade. Bree keeps a really good raspberry lemonade made up for me all the time. Would you care for anything? Water? Lemonade? A soft drink? I'll have a lemonade too. He didn't even look up from his laptop, his fingers flying across the keys. Bekah walked into the kitchen and poured them both lemonade into nice tall glasses filled with ice. She grabbed a couple of small bags of chips, thinking about how much she'd always felt like she needed writing snacks when she was working on papers for school. Then she pulled some frozen brownie batter from the freezer and preheated the oven. Bree kept it frozen in 4 servings, so she could make just a little for them. Then she headed out to the porch and handed Hunter his lemonade and bag of chips. "I thought writing snacks were in order." He grinned at her. "Writing snacks are always in order. I'm going to make us some brownies too. Bree always has some batter frozen, and I just have to bake it." "Sounds good. Just don't burn the house down." Bekah frowned at him. "Whatever Jack told you is a lie. I can preheat the oven and throw something into it." He chuckled. "That wasn't the impression I got earlier." "And you're a gourmet cook?" "Nope. But I'm the best takeout picker-upper you ever saw. At home, I just order whatever I want to be delivered." "You're spoiled to city life. You'd never make it in Silver Springs." Hunter shook his head at her. "Shoo. I'm writing." "Fine." Bekah didn't want to put his book down, but she just didn't find it interesting, so she pulled earbuds from her pocket and started on the first episode of Lazy Love on Netflix. For the 50th time. At least. The cast, especially the 2 main characters, had such an incredible connection that she could watch it over and over without growing tired of it. At the first break in the show, she hurried to the kitchen and put the brownies in. She set the timer and went back out to the porch, leaving one earbud out, so she'd be able to hear the timer. When she looked up, she found Hunter watching her again. "Thinking?" He nodded. "I can only type crazily for so long without stopping to think for a moment, and then I can go 90 to nothing again." "Will you have your book done in time?" He laughed. "If I keep going like I have the past 2 days, I'll have it done before our date on Tuesday." "I'm really looking forward to that," she said. She hoped she wasn't coming on too strong, but she wanted to be very clear about how she felt. She'd always expected love to creep up on her, to come on slowly, but with Hunter, it was almost as if a bolt of lightning had hit her. One minute she'd been content with life and her single status, the next she'd only been able to think about him. He nodded. "Me too. You don't mind if I bring my notebook, do you?" "I don't think you'd be you if you didn't." She heard the timer on the oven buzz and hurried in to get their brownies. She added a bit of the cream cheese frosting that was in a bowl in the fridge. She knew he liked cream cheese brownies, because that's what he'd ordered with his boxed lunch the day before. Cutting the entire brownie in half, she put it on 2 plates and carried it out to the porch, along with 2 forks. "I hope you like your brownies hot." "I do." He took the dessert from her and set it beside his laptop, quickly finishing the paragraph he was writing. "If I stop in the middle of a paragraph, I may never remember what my brain was trying to say." She laughed. "I'm learning so much about how a writer's brain works." "Better watch out, or I'll figure out how to do it too." She'd once thought she could write a book and even sat down and started one. She did great until she got to the 2nd chapter. She had a beginning and a great end, but the middle part made her head spin. And not in an attractive way at all. "If you really want to write, I could help you get started." He eyed her curiously, wondering if she was serious or not. So many people told him they wanted to write, but when it came down to it, they weren't willing to put in the hard work involved. She shook her head. "Not at all. I tried once. I can start a book. I can even end a book. It's all those middle chapters that mess with my head." He laughed. "I had that problem when I first started out too. I think most people do. It takes real discipline to actually finish a book and not just start a whole bunch of them." "Get back to work then." "I'll watch my show." "What are you watching?" "Lazy Love. It's my go-to when I need to laugh and smile." "I had a rough day." "Because of Jennifer?" he asked, one eyebrow raised. "When Jennifer is involved, all days are rough." Bekah put the earbuds back in as he started typing again. She knew it wasn't a normal date, but it still felt good. She liked that he was writing with her sitting right there. It felt homey. Hunter scrolled back to where he'd introduced Bekah and filled in a few details. Since she was right there, he could look at her and make sure he got things just right. He'd never been able to write with anyone in the same room as him before, not even his brother who'd shared a room with him until he'd graduated from college. It was different. He liked it. And then he grinned to himself. They weren't in a room. They were outside. If he couldn't write with someone outside with him, he'd never be able to write again. Maybe it would be different if they were actually in a room together. He was more than willing to find out.